The Galileo 7 is one of the first Star Trek episodes to put Spock in the spotlight. We get a good look at his half-Vulcan, half-human mind at work, far from the Enterprise. Spock is put in a command position. He is challenged to win the respect of his crew, who see him as a cold-blooded walking computer. It's ironic, but the respect he seeks from his crew comes only after he abandons his awesome intellect and makes a decision based on emotion. His initial battles with the primitive enemy are failures because his rational mind cannot understand or deal with an irrational foe, and he loses lives as a result. Not a great beginning to a Starfleet career, but it makes for a good episode. The special effects in this episode are inexpensive, yet effective. The actors who portrayed the natives on the planet were of average height, but the props that Mr. Spock handles, the shield and the spear that were supposed to belong to the aliens, were made oversized to give the impression that the creatures were much larger than the crew of the Galileo. By the way, Lieutenant Boma was portrayed by Don Marshall. He went on to be a featured performer in Land of the Giants.
My memory was that Gene said to me, this is going to be a character who will be on board the Enterprise and quite visible.
Sir, contact with an object. It's moving toward us.
No visual contact yet.
Deflectors, full intensity.
It's coming at light speed.
Collision course. Evasive maneuvers, Mr. Sulu.
He will look alien. We will understand constantly that he's from another planet, and that's why the Planeteers, among other things, were very important to Gene, because that said, this is an alien. This is not a human being.
And if the Romulans are an offshoot of my Vulcan blood, and I think this likely, then attack becomes even more imperative.
And this character will be a constant reminder that we are in the 23rd century and that interplanetary exchange, interplanetary travel has become a fact, and that this is a plurality crew. This is not a crew of totally humans. There are aliens in the crew on the Enterprise. And that was one element of what I was given to understand when I took the job.
Not very efficient. Is that all you have to say?
Am I an error, Mr. Bowman?
You, err? Impossible.
Then what, Mr. Bowman?
There's a man lying there dead, and you talk about stone spears. What about Latimer?
My concern for the dead will not bring him back to life, Mr. Bowman.
The other was that this was a character of mixed parentage. An Earth mother, human, and a Vulcan father, and that there would be a battle for control of this being between his logical side and his emotional side.
All right, Spock, you have all the answers. What now?
Mr. Bowman, your tone is increasingly hostile.
My tone is the only thing that's hostile, Mr. Spock.
Curious. Most illogical.
And I'm sick and tired of your logic.
We could use a little inspiration.
Strange. Step by step, I've made the correct and logical decisions. And yet 2 men have died.
He had chosen the Vulcan way, to be the Vulcan, to suppress emotion. I found that particularly intriguing as an actor because it gave me an immediate drama to play, a personal drama to play, and a personal dynamic to be working on all the time.
Mr. Spock, that's your place.
My place is here. If you please, Doctor.
Now look, we may all die here. At least let us die like men, not machines.
By dealing with first things first, I hope to increase our chances of staying alive.
It was trying at first. I had difficulty finding my way.
What a mess. Picturesque descriptions will not mend broken circuits, Mr. Scott. I think you'll find your work is cut out for you. Galileo to Enterprise. Galileo to Enterprise, come in, please.
Little by little, I began to understand that it was possible to play the suppressed emotion and give the audience an occasional peek through the writing or through performance at the struggle that this character was having. And I think many people identify with this.
I realize that command does have its fascinations, even under circumstances such as these. But I neither enjoy the idea of command, nor am I frightened of it. It simply exists. And I will do whatever logically needs to be done. Excuse me.
I think it's a very human character in a way. I've said this before. He's referred to as the alien. He's referred to as the stoic Vulcan. But he's a very human character. He's dealing with a very human problem. We're all living our lives trying to find a balance between emotion and logic.
Mr. Spock, you said a while ago that there were always alternatives.
Did I? I may have been mistaken.
Well, at least I've lived long enough to hear that.
We're all, at times, saying to ourselves, coming away from a situation, and I wish I'd been able to control my temper. Or I wish I had let him have it, whichever.
You seem to have miscalculated regarding them, and inculcated resentment on your parts. Some of the parts cannot be greater than the whole.
A little less analysis and more action. That's what we need, Mr. Spock.
We're looking for that balance. What's the right way to function, emotionally or logically, in a given situation? And I think, for that reason, audiences identified with Spock. I think audiences find it possible to understand Spock, and in perhaps some moments admire Spock and say, oh, he does something that I wish I could do to control that moment that way.
I examined the problem from all angles, and it was plainly hopeless. Logic informed me that, under the circumstances, the only possible action would have to be one of desperation. Logical decision, logically arrived at.
I see.
To have that wry sense of humor, that twinkle in the eye, and to have an emotional experience and be cool. I think audiences understand that and enjoy it.
The shuttlecraft Galileo, by the way, this is a toy, was built by the workers at AMT Corporation and was supervised by automotive designer George Winfield, who would later help construct the full-sized vehicles used in Blade Runner. AMT built the shuttlecraft in exchange for the rights to build the model kits. That's the way it works sometimes.